continue attending our sessions. And if you have any specific questions for me, you can just send me an email to cecilia@totango.com, and I'll be happy to stay in touch. So for today's agenda, we're going to be talking about how to decide what type of customers can benefit from the one-to-many programs. Also, what parts of the customer journey are optimal for the one-to-many program. Some ideas for the one-to-many programs to start with, and then what would be kind of the setup, configuration, and ongoing maintenance to run these programs with the help of Totango. So if we start thinking about who and when should be eligible or should benefit from the one-to-many program. So when we start thinking about that, we really need to look at your service model. So how do you currently service your customers? Do you have a high versus low touch model? Do you have trial customers that may benefit from an ongoing one-to-many initiative that can really help kind of promote them into the right process and push them into the right direction while they're still in trial? And then from there, once the customer's converted, what is that process like? Do you have a very hands-on, high-level service, or is there some automation more on the low touch that can be included in the one-to-many program for you? So those are things to think about as you look at kind of your current process and your service model to see where would be kind of the optimal place to infuse a program that can be a one-to-many approach. Now with that, what are the current processes? What types of programs do you currently run? And can some of these be sort of put on autopilot with a one-to-many approach? Are there repetitive tasks that your customer success team members perform, whether it's training, whether it's onboarding follow-up, anything around renewals and upsells that is consistently followed by the team that can be easily automated with a one-to-many approach? Also, are there challenges and opportunities at specific life cycle stages? So that can be, is there something of a challenge, or maybe something happens with the customer? Maybe there's a lot of support tickets. Can some of that be a one-to-many approach? Whenever that happens, you can infuse a process that's a one-to-many communication that goes out to a customer with some useful information. And then as far as opportunities, is there something that symbolizes a good opportunity for a potential expansion or an upsell that can be automated as well? And then can parts of the journey be automated? So which part can be a self-service portion of maybe your onboarding process or a renewal process or an upsell process, so that not every step of the way you need a customer success manager holding your hand, their customer's hand, if you will. So start thinking about that, as far as who and when can be receiving and benefiting from a one-to-many approach. Just to let you know, as we go through these slides, if you have any questions that come up, you can type them into the question box, and we'll typically do questions at the end of the demo and the presentation. So feel free to type them into the question box. So this is just a quick example, or actually a slide of the journey and some of the main processes that happen during the lifecycle journey of a customer. Starting with onboarding, adoption, escalation, retention, and expansion, and then there's also advocacy there at the bottom. So along the journey, there are places where you can infuse a one-to-many program that makes sense. So each one of these main processes can definitely have a one-to-many approach associated with them, again, based on the type of customer and their phase within their journey with you. So some of the ideas as you start thinking about your own one-to-many programs, these could be the ones to potentially start with. There are many more, based on your specific product and service model. But these are just some ideas that you can start thinking about. So if you do have trials, you can track progress and to deliver the right content to progress prospects to purchases via campaigns. So campaigns can be your vehicle to promote and push the customer in the right direction. So if they've done something, you want them to do the next thing, or if they haven't done something important or haven't reached a critical milestone in their trial, then push them to the right place so that they can actually get to that and complete that particular important aspect of their trial. Same with onboarding. So you can communicate to allow customers to self-service through the steps that need to be completed. And then you can survey them at the end. So once the onboarding process is done, you can send a follow-up, like a check-in after onboarding, and provide them with a survey. Also, education and training. So you can set up programs to inform and educate your customers on new and underutilized features. So you can actually introduce new features, invite customers to webinars or training. And then if they're not using particular features, you can actually send them campaigns to educate them, maybe send them quick videos, things like that. Renewals and upsells. Also can use vehicle for that delivery for using Totango's campaigns. And you can push the customer to renew and upsell as a self-service if that's appropriate for your service model. So some examples. So if we're looking at trials, you can have a campaign to welcome a user and provide helpful information just as they start with a trial with you. From there, you can have a campaign to congratulate a user in reaching a specific milestone. So they reached milestone X. You can encourage and give them guidance on completing steps Y and Z. And then you can also do a campaign to push users in the right direction if they haven't achieved a milestone. So if you see that in Totango they haven't done something really specific that is meaningful and relevant for them to really progress well in their journey with you, you can send them a campaign. So examples for onboarding type of programs. So you can do an initial campaign to welcome the user and provide helpful information and invite them to a training session. You can do a service onboarding process. So if it's applicable, of course, you can send a campaign to guide the customer through some of the integration process steps. Maybe there's something they need to install or download, things like that. They can be easily sent as an instructional kind of guidance to get them to onboard on their own. And then post onboarding, you can do a follow-up that can typically be something that a CSM would send, but in this case, you can automate that and send them a follow-up email, also asking for them to provide you with feedback. Now, program examples for training and education. So some of the things that you can do are office hours, so regular sessions for Q&A, and maybe some focus sessions with specific, focused discussions. You can do webinars, so regular sessions on best practices and functional product trainings, things like that. Obviously, new user orientation sessions are easy to start with, and then ongoing product education. We have been doing the hot tip of the week. We can send a quick email with a quick video tutorial on specific functional areas or maybe key features of your product. Expansion and upsell programs. So first, start thinking about what is the qualification for an upsell? What does it mean for somebody to qualify for an upsell? Is it that they are exceeding their license utilization or capacity for their licenses? Maybe they're really utilizing a lot of your key features and they're ready for an upsell as far as expanding into other product areas. Think about what that would look like. And then in your process, can customers do their upgrade automatically? Is there some link they click on? Is there a billing process that they go through where they can just upgrade and get more without having to talk to anyone? So you can kind of offload that process and automate it. And then you can do a campaign to allow the customer to purchase more via self-service. So again, just sending them an email, providing them with a link to progress and process their upsell on their own without needing to talk to an individual, which can save your team a lot of time. So if we think about kind of the initial setup, configuration, and maintenance, it really depends on your current setup, but if you start thinking about it, the campaigns can allow you to define all the logic. So you can build out all the logic for the communication via segments. So you can pre-build that out. You can set up folders and organize all your programs and all your initiatives via segments within the folders. So you can build specific segments in there. And then you can also build the logic directly in campaigns. So it really depends Sometimes it helps to organize your thoughts and organize all the programs ahead of time and build the segments, and then from there just infuse that into your logic in the campaign. So if we think about the webinars and office hours, if you already have a platform that you use for that, that's great. If you don't, you probably need to figure out what platform is going to be your vehicle for delivering, those sessions. There's a lot of web um, conferencing type solutions. We have been using GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar for our office hours and things like that, and we also use Zoom internally. So there's a lot of different platforms and tools that you can consider for that. And then tracking and measurement. I would recommend starting small and tracking, some of the kind of the basic metrics, who attends, how many, and then expanding that into more, more key KPIs. And then also obviously trying to promote and expand the attendance level. So how many users can you get from an account to attend? And then, tracking those ratios going forward to see how you're expanding the program's success, across your organizations that you service. So those are some ideas. And then I have some quick examples, some slides of, the quick, initiatives that you can start with. So, one would be like a welcome that we discussed. So introducing your team to the new user. So sending them a quick welcome, providing them with quick links to training sessions and some recorded on-demand content, and also some of the collateral that they can review at their own time. So that's kind of a quick, easy one that you can do right away into Totango, is just doing a quick introduction email via campaigns to your new users that get started with you. Another one that is a good one is a quick follow-up after onboarding. So if a customer has transitioned from onboarding to a live customer, you can send them a survey, provide a link, and just let them know that you're seeking their feedback for the onboarding process. Upsells. With upsells, you can easily infuse the data that you have into Totango. So for example, licenses, how many licenses are on contract? You can expose that metric to your end user, probably your key contact, if you're looking to do an upsell. And then you can let them know what their license utilization was. So you can show them easily, based on their contract allocation for users. If they have exceeded that, you can actually present them with that number so they know exactly by how many. So you can really customize that message based on the data into Totango. So if you have other key metrics that you're sending to us, you can infuse them easily into the customized message that you're sending to your customer. So hot tips, these are the ones that we've been doing. So just a quick, catchy email with a link to a video recording, that's for us has been typically 5 to 8 minute quick video that really goes in depth as to specific area of Totango. And then we give some good examples that customers can take away from that in order to get better at using that particular area of the product. So you can automate that type of program as well. Now, the typical kind of ongoing programs like office hours and webinars, you can send those as well. You can invite customers. You can send follow-ups and automate that follow-up process on a weekly basis if that's how often you have your program running. So you don't necessarily need to do anything. Once the program's up and running, you can just let it sit and kind of generate those emails automatically without you having to worry about it. So that's a great one to automate and set into place. So with that, I'm actually going to jump out into the demo system really quick and just show you kind of the building process of, when we talk about setup, some of the initial logic configuration that you can get started with. So what typically you would want to do is go into your segments area, and I have my webinar folder, and I have created a one-to-many folder as well. So you can feel free to basically create a folder for one-to-many programs. Within that, you can have another subfolder as well that maybe focus on specific types of programs. Maybe you have a training and education program. Maybe you have an onboarding program. Maybe you have an upsell and renewal program. And so you can actually categorize that and build a hierarchy out first. so that you can keep things really well organized. And from here, what you want to do is start building out your logic. So I built just 3 quick examples. All of these are user level segments, because from those I'm going to build campaigns that can be automated and set up as ongoing campaigns. So the first one is a new user welcome. The logic that is pretty simple for it. It's just basically looking at customers that are paying, and their first activity date is in the last 3 days. So basically, any user that has had their first activity in the first 3 days, in the last 3 days actually, is my new user. So I have my new users welcome. And from here, I'm going to just launch into a campaign directly. So once I have my logic in a segment, all I need to do is launch into my campaign builder and make this process really easy and streamlined for me. Now, with the success flow categorization, I can actually define what type of campaign engagement it is. And for example, in this case, it can be a nurture. I can also define other categories for me. So, I can actually build a category called one-to-many. That can be a category for me as well. And actually, we have that in our own production instance that we use, but in this demo we don't. So, but I would encourage you, if you are going to launch these one-to-many programs, you can actually categorize them as a success flow and call it one-to-many. So from here, the process is the same. If you're familiar with how to use campaigns, basically you'll go through this process, and then you will define, build your content. You'll have your email subject, you'll specify the sender, and then you'll define your particular body of your message and infuse that into your ongoing campaign. So I'm going to go back to my segments, and we're going to look at the other two. The post onboarding follow-up. So this one is pretty easy too. What I'm doing, and I'm just going to show you this really quick, I'm looking at my users that are key contacts, because I want to message and survey my key contacts for that account. And then I'm looking at my status on the account level. There's a status. And for us, we have our, established versus onboarding categorizations living within status. So what I'm saying is the status changed in the last 7 days, and it went from onboarding to established. So what I'm trying to do is basically anyone who has graduated from being in onboarding and became established, I'm going to send them my onboarding feedback survey, and I'm going to ask them to give me a review of how things went in the onboarding process. So this is the logic. I only have 2 users that qualify to receive that. And basically the same thing, we'll just launch directly into a campaign, build it out, set it up as an ongoing campaign so that I don't no longer need to think about it. Anytime there's a customer that it transitions from onboarding to established, they will automatically get this campaign from us. So that makes it really easy. And then the other one that's you can start thinking about is the upsell process. So that's something that hopefully can be easily automated for you as well. My criteria here was license utilization is more than 101% in the last 14 days. Again, paying customers, and the contact is key contact, because this is, we're talking about upsells. We want to only communicate to our key champions for that particular account. So I have a few users here, 84 out of 44 accounts that qualified for that. So that's a good, volume of customers to target for an upsell. And from here, again, you'll launch directly into the campaign builder and then come up with a really good message to the customer. Maybe there's a link directly where they can go and buy more licenses. If you don't have an ability to get them to upgrade like that, maybe you encourage them to have a conversation with you, get in touch with you, and you can walk them through the expansion process. So with that, these are basically all the things I wanted to show you today. It's a basic overview right now to get you thinking and starting to think about one-to-many programs. If you have any specific questions, we can also do a follow-up. Again, I'm Cecilia, so you can just reach out to me directly. And also, I'll pause for a second and I'll take any questions that came in via the chat window. Okay, so there's a question that's asking about the campaigns and how to set up a template in terms of a layout, meaning images and content that we can reuse. So in the template editor, there's actually a few options for you. You can use the kind of the branding. There's layout options for you. You can change your obviously your colors, logos, and images. And then if you come up with a really neat layout, what you can do is build the campaign out and then repurpose that campaign. So you can actually duplicate the campaign that you have in the system and reuse it. So you'll basically save the template by copying it and reusing it in the new campaign at another time. So that would be my best advice on how to do that at this point. So there's another question. Are there any plans to allow for HTML-based campaigns? Yeah, I think we have discussions on that internally. I don't have any estimates or timeframes to share with you, but it is something that our team is considering in the future. So definitely stay in touch with us on that. Reach out to your CSM, as I know that that's a topic that came up for our team, and we're figuring out when that would be fitted into the roadmap for our ongoing evolution of the campaign's capabilities. Okay, so there's another question that's asking about how are you moving customers from one journey stage to the next? Is it manual or automatic based on actions? So in our case, when we graduate a customer from onboarding to established, it is kind of a manual decision for us. So we have a set of things that we go through with the customer. For us, the last phase of a customer's onboarding process is to complete training. So once they have completed training, the CSM actually goes in and updates that in our system, and that gets updated throughout Totango as well. So it is something that is a manual decision for us internally. And a lot of times, if it's a high touch onboarding process that has a few steps, usually finishing up with onboarding training, it's usually a manual kind of transition. So, and from there to Tango, once it knows that information, you can automate the campaigns from there. I hope that helps. The next question, do you have any recommendations for when to use plain text campaigns which appear more personal versus those with more styling? That's a great question. So you are right. So the plain text, I prefer the plain text for anything that I really want to resemble just that intimate one-to-one communication. That would be, oh, I'm just sending an email to my customer. I don't want them to sense this is sort of an automated or a mass mail type outreach. I really want them to feel that this came directly from me. So those are really the best candidates for the plain text. You can still infuse a lot of kind of the data customization, so you can present the customer with the right data that's relevant for them. But those are best candidates when you really want to retain that one-to-one feeling. The ones with more styling is, if you want to get it more colorful and more exciting, those are great for kind of product announcements, new feature introductions. You could also do a little bit more styling when you're doing kind of a product tip. The video that you're sending, maybe a little bit more color there. But even a plain text works. We sent those in both ways, and I think sometimes the plain text with just a simple link even gets more views and more clicks in there than the one that has some images. So that would be kind of my best advice. Anything that you want to really retain that personal, do it very simple, plain text, and then anything that's more like on the product announcement type of campaign, then I think more styling and more images are nice with those. So I hope this session was helpful. Actually, we do have a couple more questions that came in. So there's an example on the screen that we had. It's for past 14 days. Does this mean someone who meets this would get the email every 14 days? No, they'll only get the email once. So there are campaigns usually, once you have received a campaign, you shouldn't get it again. You could also build some logic in your campaigns that would basically say, not targeted by. So you can actually make sure to exclude the customer if they have already received a particular campaign to not receive it again. So you can build some logic on top of that to just make sure that you eliminate any side cases where a customer may qualify again to receive the same message if they pop in and out. So you can exclude them by saying is not or has not been targeted or has been targeted by a particular campaign. So there's a question follow-up. Is journey stage a tag or something else? So for us, a journey stage is an attribute. So basically, we use it as we basically have an attribute that's called status. And we use our on lifecycle stages are actually within status. So there's status type and there's also status. For us, status is one of these things. So it's actually a definition that we have that's feeding from Totango. And that's the easiest way to get the change in. So if you use the status or status type, I would say status is the most optimal for that. You can use the changed option. So you can actually say changed before, after, from, to, etc. If you use another type of attribute for it, the change capability is not available. So the status allows you to have the changing logic in order to use when things transition from one phase to another. I hope that's helpful. If you need any further clarification on that, maybe chat with your CSM and reach out to me and we can clarify it further for you. And at this point, we're all out of time. So I wanted to thank everybody for attending. We hope to see you again at our future sessions. And we hope that this was a valuable one for you. And have a great afternoon. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again soon.